Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really complex, rapidly escalating, and honestly fascinating geopolitical shift happening right now between the United Arab Emirates and Iran. Based on recent, highly detailed reports we've been looking at, a historically quiet Cold War might literally be turning hot. So let's cut through the noise and see exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, allegations and denials. Second, international media reports. Third, economic and demographic realities. Fourth, the trade paradox. And finally, shifting alliances. Let's dive in. All right, part one, allegations and denials. Now, listen to this statement. Israel and America could not protect the United Arab Emirates. That came directly from Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister. And it's really the match that lit the current rhetorical fire. It's severe, high-stakes messaging from Iranian leadership, and it directly targets the perceived vulnerability of the UAE, basically saying, even with your powerful allies, you aren't safe. So we've got a really stark diplomatic clash going on here. On one side, Iran's narrative claims that the UAE actively collaborated with Israel on covert strikes against Iranian soil. But on the flip side, the UAE has issued a fierce denial. They're calling these claims absolutely baseless fabrications. In fact, they accuse Iran of launching unjustified, unprovoked attacks targeting crucial civilian infrastructure, things like airports and oil installations, just hours after military operations commenced. And the UAE isn't just putting out standard PR denials. As detailed by Minister of State Khalifa Shaheen, they have officially demanded immediate compliance with UN Security Council Resolution 2216. They are heavily leaning into international law here. They're directly calling out Iran's disruption of commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, and they aren't mincing words. They're labeling it as economic coercion, blackmail, and outright piracy. It's a massive legal counterpunch on the global stage. Moving on to part two, international media reports. The global press is absolutely buzzing right now, and the claims are wild. Bloomberg has been reporting on alleged joint retaliatory strikes by the UAE and Israel on Iran. Then you have the Times of Israel detailing claims of covert attacks on Iranian oil facilities at Lavon and Suri Islands, which points to some unprecedented intelligence sharing. Meanwhile, Reuters noted that sources say Washington actually views Abu Dhabi's active involvement as a positive thing. And the BBC, they reported a highly unusual deployment of an Egyptian fighter squadron straight to the UAE. If these reports hold up, we are looking at a fundamental rewiring of Middle Eastern military cooperation. But to really ground this abstract tension in concrete, physical military reality, let's look at the UAE Ministry of Defense's April reports. In that month alone, they reported intercepting 23 Iranian ballistic missiles and 56 drones. Over just a 5-week period, reports indicate the UAE faced around 2,800 incoming threats. Think about that. This isn't just a war of words anymore. There is active, intense military defense happening right over the heads of civilians. Which brings us to part three, economic and demographic realities. Okay, let's talk about the people. The UAE has a population of over 11 million. But here's the kicker. A staggering 90% of them are expats. Only 10% are native Emiratis. The entire economy is overwhelmingly reliant on a transient foreign workforce, mostly from countries like India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So in a time of severe military conflict, the stability of a nation built almost entirely on an expat labor force becomes a really huge question mark. And because of that heavy reliance on migrant labor, you get this incredible demographic skew. Roughly 63.8% of the population is male, compared to just 36.2% female. Many of these workers just don't have their families with them. This creates a very unique social structure, one that's geared heavily toward rapid economic output rather than long-term multi-generational societal roots. But the anchor holding this entire system together is the UAE's massive $504 billion GDP. We're talking about an absolute economic empire at stake here. They produce over 3.3 million barrels of crude oil every single day, and they're sitting on over 113 billion barrels in reserves. So this isn't just a regional conflict. Any instability here, it sends massive ripples through the entire global economy. Let's look at part four, the trade paradox. So the UAE signed the Abraham Accords with Israel in 2020 to normalize relations, right? And by 2023, their non-oil trade with Israel reached a very respectable $2.3 billion. But around that exact same time, the UAE's trade with Iran completely dwarfed its trade with Israel. We're talking a staggering $24 billion. Despite the military tension, despite all the aggressive rhetoric we just talked about, the UAE and Iran are deeply, deeply economically entangled. And right at the geographic center of this paradox is the Strait of Hormuz. It's a critical maritime choke point where roughly 1/4 of the world's oil trade passes. Crucially, it houses 3 small islands that both the UAE and Iran fiercely claim sovereignty over. When you combine $24 billion in bilateral trade, 25% of the world's oil, and heavily disputed territory, you have a perfect recipe for intense geopolitical friction. Finally, Part 5, Shifting Gulf Alliances. It's really important to remember that this strategic shift didn't just happen overnight. It's been a long time coming. In 2015, the UAE joined the war in Yemen against the Iranian-backed Houthis. In 2017, they participated in the blockade of their neighbor, Qatar. By 2019, they announced a troop drawdown in Yemen, though reports indicate they absolutely kept special forces on the ground. And then in 2020, they signed the Abraham Accords with Israel. This has been a deliberate step-by-step shift over nearly a decade to project hard power far beyond their borders. According to the sources, the UAE's footprint has expanded massively. We're seeing claims of continued financial backing for various factions in Yemen, deep involvement in Libya, a very active role in Sudan's ongoing civil conflict, and even moves toward recognizing Somaliland to secure influence over the Red Sea. They are basically playing an active game of 3D chess across the Middle East and Africa. And naturally, that has placed them directly at odds with Iranian interests. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely crucial question. What does the shift from soft diplomacy to hard military alignment actually mean for the future of the Gulf's greatest economic hub? The UAE spent 40 years building a thriving economic miracle based on safety, business, and neutrality. Will these new strategic alliances secure that empire against rising threats? Or will the heat of these regional conflicts unravel the very stability that made their success possible in the first place? It's a high-stakes gamble, and you better believe the whole world is watching to see how the dice land. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.